Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we've got a lot to get through and I want to make sure we can do it. So, we are so glad that you joined us today at Build for this creative thinking session led by the amazing Bridget Quigg. My name is Wendy Boswell, and I work in the Developer Relations org here at Microsoft, and I'm just going to be behind the scenes today, helping us all to have a great session and a great time. Real quick, before we get started, we're going to take a look at how things are going to work because this is a new format for everyone, right? So how to engage. So you can use the chat box here, which you've already started to use to ask questions or comment. The questions are all going to come to the moderator, which is me, and then you can upvote your favorites using the thumbs up to increase that visibility. Another thing too is, of course, the Microsoft Digital Event Code of Conduct. So this is all just a simple ask that we be nice and respectful and have a good time with each other, which I know we're going to. It's all about respect and creating a welcoming space for everyone to enjoy, right? Okay, so with that, I'm going to switch it over to Bridget real quick to kick us off. And here we go. Ready and there we are. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Wendy, for the handoff. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for being at the Creative Thinking session here at Build. Very glad you joined. You have my curiosity piqued if you are a person who chose to take the time to go to this session. Probably means you have a lot of ambitions and ideas. You might be a manager of a team who needs new ideas and solutions within your workspace, or you are someone who's building something all by yourself and you want to be as creative and innovative and solution oriented as you can be. All of that is welcome here, and we're going to talk a lot about basically mindset and how to, for yourself and for others around you, create a space that is highly creative, productive, innovative. So just as a quick way of introduction for me, I worked for about 15 years in Seattle's tech scene, particularly at startups, and mostly in marketing, largely as a director. And so I come from that creative tech background. I also, all during that time, was on stage quite a bit, performing different kinds of comedy. So stand-up, improvisational comedy, sketch comedy with troops, traveled with doing that, had a really good time. And what I kept doing was bringing my lessons I had learned about creative collaboration and creativity in general back to my teams at work. So my marketing teams or the product team, we would do sessions where I would teach them mostly particular lessons from the improvisational theater stage. So you may be familiar with some of those ideas. My goal today is to bring them to you in a way that's highly applicable to your world. If you think about it, what improvisational theater actors actually do is they create in an instant together without a plan, which is quite phenomenal for any humans to be able to do that. And it's not random. They're actually following a lot of guidelines and a lot of rules, if you will, or suggestions for how to work together, how to respect each other's creativity, how to bring forth their own creativity. And all of those rules, truly, pretty much, are useful to you in your workspace. So my goal today is to teach you about 5 of them, and we're going to do quite a bit of interacting. So get ready to get into the chat, and thank you all for being here. Wendy, let's kick it off with some slides.
Rock and roll. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna.
And I love seeing where everyone's from. Thank you for putting those in. So exciting. Wow. Australia, Peru, Mexico.
Okay, send live.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. Okay.
We have it. Wonderful. All right, creative thinking session. You have arrived. You made it here. Hope all the sessions have been awesome. Hope this one is too. Here we go. Wendy, go ahead and go to my first slide. So here's my goal for this session. I want you to hear your great ideas, and I want you to help others to do the same. And I want to give you some very practical, useful, repeatable skills and ways of doing that. In general, there is a saying I love. It's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with others. So, or go together. Point being, you have to be someone who's not only great at hearing your great ideas, but if you're in a workspace, if you're creating a product, if you're out in the market, inevitably you are going to interact with others and need to collaborate with them creatively. Places that are highly creative, or workspaces that are highly creative, tend to be, I believe, more productive, and there are studies out about this, more productive and happier. It's more fun to be at a place that embraces and encourages creativity. All right, so on that note, Wendy, if you would go to my next slide. So here you're looking at my main thesis, my main idea. If you go to my website, bridgetquigg.com, you will see at the bottom of every page of my website, it says, I believe every person is a creative genius. So I know not all of you are from the US. I know for not all of you in particular, English is not your first language. So the subtlety of the word genius in English in the United States of America, where it's where I've done most of my teaching, is it has this energy of being special, being different, being better than, right? Genius, like Einstein, for example. If you actually look at the definition of the word, it talks about an innate ability. It is something you are born with. And I'll tell you what, you are born creative, every one of you, and you would not be here today at Build, able to work with me, able to show up on time, have your job, have whatever family relationships that you have, if you weren't a natural problem solver, if you weren't someone who can find solutions. And here's how I view creativity for each one of you. You have an infinite well of creativity inside of you. Infinite, as in bottomless. It never, ever ends. You can always tap it. It is unique to you. Even if you have a similar idea to someone else, the way you got there, the way you express it, the way you see it in your head is unique to you. So you have an infinite well of creativity. It is unique to you, and it is appropriate for the moment. A lot of times we doubt ourselves or think I want to wait on that, and that's okay. But what I'm going to encourage you to do in the time that we are together right now is to trust that creativity, bring it forth as much as you can. I'm going to talk about allowing. So if there's this well of creativity, I believe it's kind of pushing stuff to you, if you will. You don't necessarily need to sit there and think harder to get a great idea. Sometimes you're going to get it by going for a walk, taking a nap, doing just something different than what you were doing, throwing a ball with your kid, whatever it is. So if you're a creative genius, guess what? So is everyone around you. So this idea really impresses upon all of us the idea that you have to have respect for the creativity around you as well as your own in order to get to that collaborative place. So on that note, since you're a creative genius, you've all just been through something odd, right? We're all in this global situation where a lot of us are quarantined, as am I here in Seattle, and you've all had to be creative on how to deal with that. What I would love to hear is some of the ways you have adapted, some of the ways you were creative to solve an issue. Go ahead and put this in the chat to start to think of it. I'm going to ask you to not think of the coolest thing. You don't need to have the biggest thing. It just needs to be something. Maybe you learned to cook a different way. Maybe you learned to get time for like a date night with your spouse, even though you're sharing the kids with the house with the kids, 24/7. Maybe you thought of doing backyard campouts. So go ahead if you would, and just share with the group a creative solution you had to a new challenge you had. And maybe you're in a country where you weren't in quarantine, but inevitably everyone was impacted in some way and had to adjust. So I'm going to just watch the chat here, and I'm still seeing how people are coming from all over the world, Australia, Japan, Colombia. That's beautiful. It's very nice to have you all. Really appreciate it. And Ottawa got a vote up. I like it. The Canadians are banding together. So I'm looking in the chat, not seeing anything just yet, but go ahead if you would. And if you don't want to share it to the group, that's okay. I would encourage you to just at least think of it for yourself. So I'm going to go back to the next thing that I want you to do. So all of you in your work are you have to be creative, if you will, at some point, right? You understand what this is, whether you're a developer who is working on a product and you need to solve for a feature and come up with a way of getting things to blend in and be seamless. If you are someone leading a team of developers and you need to gather from them what you need in the right time and the right way, where are areas of your job where you have to be creative? If you would, just put that in the chat. And if you put your location as I'm sure you know how to put it in the chat now, just give me any example. Maybe it's like solving a problem with code or speaking, even just like how I speak up in meetings. You have to be creative because you know you need to make a certain, now they're coming in. All right, I see this, great. Sourdough bread, wonderful. That's the second time Dave's seen sourdough bread. I would like some, it sounds delicious. Bacon cook from YouTube. Workout, yes. So I had to adapt to not going to the gym, and I have discovered online yoga. That's one example. Playing board games, basking area for my turtle, love it. Okay, these are wonderful. 3D printing hobby turned into a normal workflow, wonderful. All right, so now I'm gonna just keep an eye on the chat, and hopefully we'll get some more around the idea of where you're creative at work. And I want you to kind of keep that sort of stuff in mind as we go forth. All right, so Wendy, if you would, go ahead and take us forward a slide. And I'm going to introduce the next idea while I wait for some of these chats to come in. We're going to do a little bit of a warm up. So now this warm up is for your brain, and it's to get you into a certain mindset. So I mentioned the concept of allowing ideas to come up. I think a lot of times we think if we think harder, and it does work that way. I mean, if you focus, you will get a certain level of engagement from your brain, but sometimes some of the juiciest ideas come from sort of a surprising, just sort of, I don't know, it just popped up sort of vibe. So these warm-ups tap into that part of you. That's the goal. I'm going to ask you to relax into a place where that happens. We're going to do them very briefly, and I'm just seeing all these wonderful chats. Okay. Try to think problems into pieces before finding solutions. Good. Troubleshooting. All right. Great. I see some. Okay, good. Thank you for all the chats. So the first one that we're going to do, we're going to 2 short warm-ups. Wendy, if you go to the next slide, please. This is basic word association, but I call it one word ping pong just for the fun of it. I'm going to say a word. It's a simple word. It is a word in English, so I know I know those of you for whom English is not your first language. Take your time, do as many of these as you can. Now, unlike the last group where the chat maybe got overwhelmed, Wendy, do you think we can let them put this group in the chat, or do you want us to stick to saying it to ourselves?
I think we can go for it.
Yeah, I think we can go for it. Let's do it. Good. All right. So one word ping pong. So I'm going to say a simple word. For example, bonnet would be a quick association I would have. If I said the word building, you might say the word top. Or if I said the word city, you might say scape. Don't worry about whether it makes sense. Don't worry about whether it's, if it's not clean, it won't make it into the chat. But the idea is I want you to allow. So I'm going to give these to you at a pace that will hopefully keep you engaged and not able to think too long and allowing this stuff to come up. So just play with it and just try it. That's all I'm asking. So the first word for you for one word ping pong, just the next thing back is all I want in the chat or to yourself. Eat. Sales. Time. Bright. Fun. We'll do one more. Mom. Word associated with mom. All right, so feel free to put them in the chat. Well, now I'm seeing all these wonderful, okay, wonderful chats. Thank you for all that. So colleague, paddle. All right, food, pizza, cool. This was not as easy to do in the last group, so I'm glad to see you guys putting them in. Thank you. Lots of references to food. I like it. That must have been eat. Good. All right, so scroll through those, see how everybody's joining, and I'm going to move on to the next warm up. Thank you for doing these. Wendy, if you go forward a slide. We're going to go to something a little more challenging. This is just to point up something that's very real with the world of creativity. More restriction, more constriction on what you have to do sometimes brings forth more creativity. This is a very simple example, but we're going to work your brain just a little bit harder. You probably already know what's coming, which is I'm going to throw a word at you and you're going to give me back a word that rhymes with the word I just said, and you're going to allow it to come up. If you don't get all of them, don't worry about it. This is just mental exercise and again, an opportunity to try and tap that part of your brain. I will give you an example. Let's just take the word word. I could say bird, or tree. I could say tea. Okay, so here we go. Let's give it a whirl and start here with, for you, bank. Free. Cash. Zone. Free. Oh, I already did free. Pardon me. Haha. Tie. And one. Okay, so I think they're probably coming in through the chat. I haven't been moving it. Okay, I see we're in a good spot there. Good. Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, you officially done your warm up. Go ahead and keep throwing them in there. Don't have enough time. Fair enough. Yeah, I get it. We're going to keep going, but that is a practice that you can try again later if you want, or play with someone in your household. It's actually pretty entertaining, as simple as it is. So Wendy, go ahead and head forth to the next slide if you would. So The thing I want to get into right now is kind of, I've given you my premise. You're all creative geniuses. You all have this infinite well of creativity inside of you. How do you get that to be brought forth? How do you get that to rise up and be let out? How do you create environments, say in your workspace in particular, and even at your home, that allow for people's creative, everyone's creative, how do you get that out? So there's a few things I want to suggest. And if you go forward a slide, please, Wendy. I'm suggesting these, and they sound a little outlandish maybe to some of you. These are not, if you're here at Build, if you're taking the time to be a developer or whatever, an entrepreneur, whatever aspect of this conference brings you to it, you are not, for example, an average person. You are someone who likes to learn, you like to strive, you like to be excellent. And I understand and I appreciate that. So this first rule I have for our time together, be average, has to do with the concept of not overthinking what comes up for you. Because what you want to think of is something awesome, right? It's going to be awesome, it's going to be huge, it's going to be incredible. I would like to put a thought in your head that what comes up naturally, what just arrives, is excellent, is awesome. But a lot of times you're not going to get to it, you're not going to feel it, you're not going to hear it if you don't allow it to come through. So I like to joke, aim for average, or bore me with your lame ideas, because they're not lame. They're beyond average to excellent. So a mindset of just cooling out your striving. All right, second one, celebrate failure. I should have failure in quotes, but the idea is that in our world, the idea of failure doesn't really help in this world of, especially for creativity. It stops forward movement. It makes people pause. There's feelings of shame, whatever. So in this world with me, and I would say going forward, if you want with your teams, when I say celebrate failure, if you feel like you failed, I want you to just throw both hands up in the air and say, ta-da, and just shake it off. Just let it go. Take a bow. I have a wonderful quote that I love from Nelson Mandela that says, I never lose, I either win or I learn. So anytime you're trying something, and especially here, I want you to have this mindset, you're winning and you're learning, and that's it. All right, so here we are, we're gonna be average, celebrate failure, and then finally just don't think. I need you to not think. We're really aiming for hyper creative space. There are other times we need to be more thoughtful or more picky or more slower. Right now, let's just let it roll. All right, so Wendy, if you would go forward to the next slide. And I have lost track of the chat. Okay, yes, and all right. So feel free if you want to say whether or not you've heard of yes and. It's more common to people now outside of the world of improvisational theater, but yes and is a fundamental lesson or a mindset in improv. So on an improv stage, and we're just from here on out, we're going to be talking a lot about lessons from improv. An improv stage, everything is an offer. That is one of the rules of improv. This is one of the concepts that really changed my life when I learned about improv. You become a person who's really paying attention, who's really listening. And you look at yes and you say, oh no, do I have to agree with everyone? Do I have to agree with everything? No, definitely not. Yes is about acknowledgement. Yes is I hear you. I get what you're saying. And so when you go ahead one slide. So yes is to acknowledge, or I like to say acknowledge everything. So a good improviser on stage doesn't leave anything out. So if someone trips when they come on stage and falls flat on their face, you just incorporate that into the scene and be like, sorry, buddy, I forgot to fix the doorstep. Come on, I'll help you up. It suddenly just becomes part of the scene now that there's this doorstep that's totally out of whack and broken, and maybe the next person trips too. So it's acknowledging everything, bringing it on board. And then the next thing, the and part, and Wendy, you can go ahead and go forward, is called, I like to say, build on it. So if you're acknowledging everything, build on it is when you add yourself. So yes, and I hear you, now here is me. And this has a wonderful effect on situations because it creates this back and forth, right? You hear someone, you add yourself. They hear you, they add themselves. There's this seesaw. And in fact, there's tons of activities and games in the improv world that we could do that are based on simply yes and, because they force a certain collaboration and create respect, mutual respect, and building. It's very building, it's very positive. Yes and. All right, so and we're going to talk about some things that are very much not like that in just a minute. So that's yes and I wanted to bring it forth, acknowledge everything, and build on it. So we're going to take a little moment. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna actually leave that. We're gonna do a chat on the next one. All right, so I want to bring to you an even more far out idea because we're talking about collaborating with other people. Wendy, you can go ahead one slide.
Okay.
This is a concept that I like that not everyone teaches around the world of improv. And this is where I think it's more about you, your creative power, your ability to innovate, and take risks and be fresh with what you're thinking. A lot of us were raised or trained somewhere in our culture and somewhere in time, and this is very normal, and we all learned it, to sort of block ourselves or kind of keep our creativity down. Or there's an idea of yes-anding yourself, which is really fundamental. And if sort of like if you can change nothing else in your environment, you can at least do this part for yourself, depending on your work environment. So yes-anding yourself is something like if you have a challenge, okay, so let's say you all have challenges at work or challenges at home that you haven't quite solved yet, right? There's something going on. I would like to ask you, and I'm going to ask you to do this in the chat on a topic that maybe you feel comfortable, or actually, Wendy, I don't know, I don't think we did the chat last time, but I welcome you if you want to, but or just do this to yourself if you'd rather. Take that problem, yes, do it to yourself. Take that problem, take that challenge. So for example, you could say, we need a successful product launch in June. There, we need a successful product launch in June. It's not exactly a problem, but it's a challenge, okay? And sit with yourself first before you bring that to folks, and yes, and that statement. Okay, so here's what that would look like. We need a successful product launch in June. Yes, and we have a great team of engineers who are working on that. Yes, and we could review their workloads. I mean, if you're already doing Agile, this might, but we can review their workloads and make sure we have the right people on the right jobs with the best skills for those jobs. Yes, and we could somehow incentivize them to complete certain amounts of work each week in a new way that is fun for them. Yes, and some of those fun ways could be. So you start to get in a build, you're building on your last idea. And for some of you, it may feel uncomfortable, but I want you to just try and do this right now. Go ahead and write it down, type it in your computer, whatever you need to do right now. Write that challenge statement down, or, you know, we need to embrace a younger market with our product, or I need a new job. Could be simply what it is. You know, I'm looking for a job. Yes, and I have some folks I could reach out to. Yes, and I could also figure out different ways of bringing my resume to people. Or yes, and I could do a video explaining my skills. All kinds of things. Try doing this just for a minute, if you would, and see what you come up with. Notice, yeah, it forces positivity, and it may be uncomfortable, but it's good. And just to remind you, there's no limits to your creativity as you do this. So I'm looking in the chat. Somebody says, so is it like accepting the situation? Yeah, definitely. Acknowledging it, I would say, acknowledging the situation. I think being aware of the reality, this is someone who's put in the chat, is a first step to actually getting to real answers and creative solutions. So I know some of you still may be working on that, but we do only have a short period of time together tonight. So if you got just a couple few yes ands out, I think it's a good practice. I appreciate you participating. And now I'm going to go to the next slide, Wendy, if you would. So we've talked about yes and as, you know, I hear you. So acknowledgement, I hear you. And now here's me. I want to talk to you guys about yes, but. Okay, so yes, but is not uncommon in a workplace, in a family, in all sorts of settings. At the store, it doesn't matter. Yes, but is I hear you, but it's probably not going to work out. You know, it's like, yeah, no, we tried that. We tried that last year. It didn't work. You know, or oh yeah, we could do that, but we don't. You know, we don't have the resources. Those are the sort of statements that, even though people are acknowledging and sort of seeming like they're on your side, and we all do this, by the way, I'm not saying I'm better, we're all working on this, but if you can try and stay in yes and, you create a creative environment that is more productive, is all I'm saying. So what I want you to do right now, if you would, is let's use that statement. Actually, I'll give you a statement. I'm going to give you a very simple statement from me, and then you're going to yes but me, and you're also going to yes and me, and just feel the difference. So the first one, I'll just say, I'm going to ride my bike to work. Okay, I'm going to ride my bike to work. So what is a yes but statement to that? Yes, but the trails between your house and work aren't very good. Yes, but your bike is old and you're going to have to fix it up. Yes, but it might seem weird to people. What if you show up at work sweaty? Yes, but right, we could all sit here and be like, oh, I hear you, Bridget, but. So try and get one of those out, and if you want, you can put it in the chat. Oh, I see some of these now. Okay, see a better work-life balance, better presenter. All right, great. Okay. Great. These are wonderful. Thank you for everything. But it might rain. Okay, I see a bike one coming through. That's right. But it might, especially in Seattle, let me tell you, it might rain. Good. Okay, so go ahead and put those in the chat. Now I want you to turn around and take my I'm in a bike to work and yes and me. What's a way that you could say something to yes and? Yes, and it will probably be really, really great for your fitness. Yes, and those hills are going to be a really good, good workout. Yes, and they just built a new trail I know that you could take that would be a safer route if you're interested. Yes, and I actually have a friend who bikes to work who maybe you could talk to or bike with this person to get here. Yes, and we just found out we have showers you can use, whatever it is. Give me a yes, but and a yes and. Okay, here they come. It rains. You're going to shower once I reach the office. Very nice. And you'll get fitter doing that. That's right, because we're in the positive. Yes, but it is dangerous. Okay. Wonderful. You guys are doing great. Good. Yes. Where are you going to put the bike? All these things. Yes. You become very fit. Fresh air. Wonderful. So here's the thing about that exercise. It is simply to bring forth the difference. And there's really a feel to it almost, but ends it or forces that person to hustle to get you back and engaged in their idea and keeps you with them. And now you're working together and you're building together. So on that note, we're going to, let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. Yeah, we're going to move forward because I have some more improv principles. If you do have questions, though, feel free to throw them in. I may or may not get them, or Wendy, if you're seeing one on a repeat, feel free to just say it to me and but we're gonna take a little break from yes and we'll come back to it. But I want to get some other improv concepts that are a little more finesse. There's literally hundreds of stage directions that we could go through that apply to life. And actually, I'll pause right here to say, if you are finding this information from improv inspiring or exciting, there are books you can look to. So Truth in Comedy. Truth in Comedy is where I get a lot of my material in terms of it's very much focused on teaching improv. But if you look at the back of each chapter, it reads like a self-help book. There's so much good material for how to be a better person and have a better day. So Truth in Comedy, Impro, I-M-P-R-O, Impro from Keith Johnstone. I actually have a short book up on Amazon now. I have a book about exactly what I'm teaching you right here. It's called Up Your Genius. If you put my name into Amazon, a lot of these games are there. So there are more resources and there's a lot of videos as well. So go ahead and move forward if you would, Wendy, to the next slide. All right, so we're going a little deeper into the world of improv. We're going to go beyond yes and to some finesse stuff. A lot of times I think about these lessons being best for meetings, right? Meetings are these places where there's a lot of social dynamics and so if you will, power plays, or some people want to have control over something. And I'm not saying it to pick on anyone because we all do it and it's all just part of life in the business world. Overacceptance is an interesting concept. A lot of times there's somebody who's very bright in the room who actually has a lot of good ideas and they're quiet. Overacceptance is taking a smaller voice and elevating it. This builds a lot of trust. It's very powerful. So an example from the world of comedy. There is a gentleman named Chris Farley. He's a comedian who he's since passed away, American comedian, very well known for when he was on Saturday Night Live. And he is considered one of the masters of overacceptance. So you would give Chris something very small. You'd make an offer, right? And he's going to accept. Chris, would you like a soda? And he would say, soda? I love soda. I'm going to drink that soda. I'm going to drink 50 more sodas. I'm going to crush every can on my head and I'm going to make a statue of you. So all you did was offer this person a beverage. That's all you did. And now not only has he accepted your beverage, he has now made up this art form of soda can pop art of you that he wants to create and share with the world. Overacceptance in a meeting might more like someone saying very quietly, it's like, I don't know if our colors on our box for our product, I don't know if our colors for this are going to suit that new market because it's younger, and it's like, ooh, tell me more about that. What are the colors you would think? Have you done any research on that? Would you mind doing some of that? Like elevating a voice that is quieter. That's overacceptance, and it really builds trust, and it's a great quality in a leader. It builds trust in a leader. All right, let's go to the next one, please, if you would. Next slide. Make your partner look good. Make your partner look good is a beautiful idea that works really well in any social situation. Again, in a meeting or in a workspace, it's very powerful. You kind of get what it's getting at, but let me explain it this way. You would think that when someone is on stage, they would be very self-focused, right? It's like you have lights on you. You want to make sure that your clothes look right and your hair is okay. And, is everyone staring at you kind of stuff. On an improv stage, and really on any stage, what you have to do is pay attention to everything around you. You have to be very receptive. You have to be looking for those offers, assuming that everyone around you is doing their best to do something wonderful that you can build on. So make your partner look good is looking for that innate creativity in someone, having respect for the qualities they have to bring, and helping them bring them out. And going back to the yes and acknowledging them. So a mindset of overacceptance and make your partner look good can absolutely transform a team or a company, or even just two-part partnership. If you're building a business, a small business. And then the last one, I just want to go to this is the last improv principle I'll bring to you guys tonight. Go ahead and move it forward, Wendy. All right, great. So don't block. All right, so I don't know who here maybe has heard of this concept. Blocking is something that happens a lot with young improvisers. These people new to the art form, because what blocking is essentially is taking control for a moment. Blocking is aggressively either ignoring or shutting down someone else's idea, and it tends to get a laugh. The audience will tend to laugh if someone blocks because it's the unexpected, and humor is often the unexpected. You can also yes and get a lot of laughs, but block almost always gets a laugh, but it stops a scene. So I'm going to give you an example. What if I were to walk on stage and someone said, "Oh, Bridget, I love your purple hat." And I just said, "I'm not wearing a hat." This is not uncommon. This happens. This is like that fighting energy, right? It happens especially with younger actors, but also it happens sort of in workplaces too. There's lots of ways that we block each other. It is a move to control the situation and also immediately stops any building of creative collaboration. So pay attention to when you block. And in a meeting, it might look more like, hey guys, I thought we were going to do go around and do intros where we, mention what we did over the weekend. It's like, yeah, we don't have time for that today. That kind of an attitude, as opposed to like, yes, I know we said we were going to do that and we'll do it tomorrow, but today we just don't have as much time. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I remember we did agree to that. That would be more of a yes and way, because you're acknowledging that person and you're responding with yourself in a way that's respectful. Okay, so overacceptance, make your partner look good, don't block. So let's get into some final games here that we're going to play together, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. And I know there may be some questions already, and you might have to rewrite them. And I see somebody though did ask, how does this relate to creative writing? It relates to it a lot, by the way. I teach creative writing as well using improv principles. That's the yes-anding yourself, by the way. Okay, so PR lead. Not everyone here is from a place where we have this term. So PR, public relations, is what we're talking about, public relations. A PR lead is a person in any situation. You may hire them if you have a company. You want somebody to talk to the media on your behalf, to bring your stories of success in a way that gets you the story that you want printed, right? This public relations person is savvy on how to, in essence, spin a story. So PR lead, another type of person that would be this sort of person is like a hype person in rap, right? This is someone who sits or stands next to the rapper, and everything that rapper does is the best. It's the most amazing. They said it the fastest. It was the best song. It was the best idea, right? Now, this is imagination. We're not doing it like you're in the workspace exactly, but I want to let you have a little bit of fun and be creative, because in my opinion, whether you're doing something at work or you're doing something at home, every time you use your creativity, you're reaffirming it and you're growing it. So here we go. PR lead, here's how it works. It's more complicated in person. We're doing it simply. I'm going to be, in essence, a celebrity. You are my PR lead, and we're talking to a reporter. And I'm not giving very interesting answers, unfortunately for you. So you've got to spice up and add a little color to what it is that I am saying. So for example, if I said, oh yeah, I just ate a croissant. All right, I just ate a croissant. Like that's all I just said. You would say it was the most flaky, buttery croissant ever, and there are trained French chefs who travel everywhere with this celebrity to make sure they have the best croissant every morning. That's going a little, that's a little longer than you need to go, but you get the idea. I didn't just have a croissant. I had like the best, most special croissant that ever came along. All right, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm going to try and just do two of them with you guys, two statements. All right, so I'll say, I read a book. I read a book. So you're my PR lead, you're my hype person. Maybe tell the reporter a little bit more about how I did that. And keep in mind, we are working in the world of overacceptance right now. And so just play with me a little bit. Put something in the chat about this book. And I know it takes a minute for them to get hopped over, so do what you can. And then don't judge it, just do it. So let it go. And then another one I would say is I wrote a song. I wrote a song. What could you say about that song that would be a PR push for me? Okay. I'm seeing some questions coming. That's great. What are the techniques to pull ideas from everyone? We have a brainstorm session that ended up only one time. Right. Okay. We can talk about that. Actually, I'm going to write that down. All around creativity. There's ways to structure basically creative sessions, almost like what I'm doing with you guys here, but the more structure you add so that everyone has to contribute. And especially if I know a lot of developers maybe don't want to speak up in meetings, and I understand that not everyone is an extroverted talker kind of person. A lot of times it helps if ideas are written down or put into an anonymous chat of some kind and then shared after the fact in a group way without them being attributed, if people would be more comfortable with that. And then you can start a creative session from that. That's one idea. If people are being quiet, giving them the option to basically be creative in a more of a written or sending out a poll. Okay, read the most amazing book ever. Yep, it has more than 1,000 pages. Whew, I must be tired. I wrote it and I'm currently editing. I love it. It altered my perception on the moon and being a fantastic place to live. These are wonderful. Next Pulitzer Prize winning book. Okay, you guys are naturals at this. This is easy for you. She's being modest. Her song broke the top 10 rankings in 3 hours. All right, it'll crush your heart. You guys are hilarious. This is wonderful. Okay, great. Yeah, one of the best songs ever heard in a long time. Wonderful. 300 pages and a 5-minute upside down. I just love these. Oh my gosh, upside down. That's so clever. Great. Lord of the Rings trilogy. Okay, I have to stop because I can't. I'll spend the rest of the time reading them. Okay, that was great. And actually, let's see. Oh no, we have just enough time. Good. We're going to do one more game. Please keep loading these in. Everyone, take a look at them. Feel free to feel free to give people the thumbs up on their comments and interact with each other that way. Okay, so how does that apply to your work? And you can put it in the chat or you can keep it in your own mind, but think about being a kind of person who looks for someone's quiet offering and amplifies it. And you don't want to do it in an authentic way, and I understand that. In a very authentic way, you can pay attention to people's successes and great ideas. All right, so we're going to do one more quick game. Wendy, go ahead and move the slide forward if you would, please, and feel free to continue to add to the chat. Gift giving. All right, so again, more complicated in person. I'm going to do it in a very, very simple way here. So we're going to be in essence in a scene, and I'm going to make a statement of something lovely that you did for me. You gave me a gift in essence. All right, you did. Thank you so much. So I'm going to tell you what it is that you gave me, and then you are going to justify, as we like to say in improv, you're going to justify, you're going to explain or give your reasoning on why you did that nice thing for me. So for example, if I just say, well, you texted me good morning, you could say back to me, well, I just knew that you like to have someone say hi to you in the morning, or I knew that it was a big day for you, so I wanted you to feel really good, whatever it is. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's try this. Put it in the chat if you would. You made me a cake. You made me a cake is my statement to you. So you come back with one simple statement. Why did you make that cake for me? What inspired you? I write a song and find I found. She wrote the most beautiful song. These are great. I'm just reading through your chats. Thank you. It'll blow your Microsoft socks off. I love it. All right, so gift giving. I'm not saying anything just yet, but I know they're probably going to be coming in. I'm going to go ahead and give you one more. You sang me a song. We're going back to music. You sang me a song. Why did you sing me a song? So this particular game really gets into sort of that yes and build on it mindset, right? You are paying attention to this is another thing that makes a big difference in meetings, creates trust, and is also the mark of a great leader. You pay attention to exactly what that person said. You actually acknowledge fully without without changing it yet, without giving it a different spin or going off in a totally different direction. So let's see, here they come. Cake was for my birthday. You're darn right it was. Thank you. You're so nice to me. I love it. You needed something sweet. Okay, so the book, literary masterpiece. So yeah, I like call back to the bike to work. I knew you needed something to offset your bike to work exercise. That's right. I was hungry. I needed a cake. Great. You love when someone else bakes a cake for you. These are beautiful. You guys get it. Keep in mind now, I want to circle back. We're getting to the end here. I could pump your creativity until you were tired or hungry or just wanted to stop. Honestly, all the time. And I know these seem lightweight and we could get far more complicated and make things more difficult. But at the end of the day, you naturally fill in blanks, right? You naturally come up with solutions. I just want to affirm that as we go through this chat. And I'm just doing a quick scan as I go also. Composer, creative work and music, very nice. Because I knew it'd make you laugh when I sing off key. Right on, just sing it out. Distract you from your, oh gosh. All right, so here we are at the end of my official presentation. I try and end my material 5 minutes earlier than this end time, so you guys have time to ask questions. And I did see some questions, and also feel free to continue to put in your wonderful, because you're the sweetest person in the world and you deserve it. Thank you so much. I love these. Yeah, you say your grandfather used to sing to you all the time. I love that. So that's a great example. There's another game we're not doing right now called Portkey, and I'm not pushing it, but it's in my book if you want to read it, but it's a storytelling game. Another thing you are all very naturally creative at is telling stories. It's just a human quality. So I've noticed the stories in all of these. You guys aren't just often giving simple answers. You're bringing in other characters. You're giving things meaning. Okay. I think this might be a question. Yeah, explain the steps of processing an idea to becoming a product. No problem. No, I get what you're getting at there. So that is a lot of sort of design thinking work, but I would say, you know, there's opening up a creative brainstorming session, even with these principles, right? Okay, team, I believe all of you are creative. I expect and imagine that all of you are going to come up with great stuff. Here's something we need to solve for. Being specific is a great way. So maybe one day you focus on a particular aspect of that product and focus on, you know, whether it is the visual of it or, you know, the back end functioning of a certain way that people can input their information and get a certain response, right? What are the creative ways? How could we develop for that? I would say be specific. So don't get too big at once. Try and focus on one problem at a time. Encourage people to continue to yes and before they get too far to yes but. Yes but is okay. It does. It brings things back to earth in a way, and it can be very, but then go back into yes and. So I don't know if that helped answer your question, but I'd say be specific and right. Okay. So creativity at work. That's something that I will often spend more time on. We didn't tonight, but where do these apply to work? Definitely team building. All of you are being asked to fix and come up with things, grow your companies, come up with fresh ideas. You're all always being creative at work, in my opinion. It depends on what your job is, but you're going to stumble across things that you did not expect, and you're going to have to solve for them. And what I'm asking for you to do right now is to practice trusting that you'll come up with something, and or trusting that you and your colleagues will come up with something. So therefore, creativity is an ongoing process, I think, in every workspace, whether or not people acknowledge it or not. That is exactly what you're all doing. I think for the strategies, do you have any advice for interacting with people who tend to communicate in the yes buts, yes, or blocking? Right. So first of all, I would say be an example of yes and, be an example of someone who doesn't do that. And then you can even, depending on how close you are, here's the thing with these concepts. If you give them to people in a timed or a contained way, it's like, okay, Margot, or whoever's kind of your yes but person, I just took this course on improv at MS Build, and what I would like to do is play with you a little bit here. I'm going to stay in yes and, because I want us to solve this and I want us to solve it together. Could you play this with me? You could do that, or you could not, maybe even not say yes and just say, you know, I'm trying to stay in a positive frame of mind on this, and I really want your inputs to help grow this idea. So can we say for 2 minutes, 2 minutes, Margot, you and I, or just 1 minute, you and I are going to stay in a positive frame of mind so we can see where we can go with this. Just play with me this one time. And I get it that it's challenging. I have worked at tech companies for years. There's all kinds of personalities. Being an example of it and making it contained are two good approaches. How did you come about your personal logo? Thank you. A friend gave it to me. Somebody found my, or I guess it's on this slide. Yeah, a friend gave that to me who found it online and said, hey, it looks like you. And he sent it and I kept it. Thank you. I'll let him know you like it. When ideas are flowing freely, how do you make sure they get recorded? Well, that's a great question. I guess it feels to me there's infinite ways. One thing I would say is, that is a great question, because having worked in marketing, that was a challenging thing in a lot of meetings. A lot of times it's nice to designate someone to be in charge of recording, right, of taking notes. What I would say is, if you would, don't always make it the same person, or make sure it's part of their job and that they're honored and respected for it and appreciated for it. So, or give the job to two people. One person's going to type in the meeting, the other person's going to clean up the notes. But I would say if you could have a series of, if you want, documents in some sort of a in your Teams files or somewhere like that, you can have these ideas recorded. Okay, so we're at the hour. And in terms of creative writing, can you give an example of using these guidelines? I'll do that very briefly. So yeah, for anyone out there who has writing as part of their job description, you have that inner well of creativity that's coming up with ideas. For example, when I was working in marketing, I would often write 10 to 12 titles for a blog post or a website piece before I chose the one, and I'd pick the one, or I'd float 5 of them to the group. But I would often overproduce and then scale back. So as you're creatively writing something, kind of give yourself the opportunity to go a lot of different directions in the beginning, just very quickly, and then see what starts to feel right and get closer to that idea, and maybe check in with a colleague. I hope that helps. I don't see anything more in the chat right now. I know we're at time. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm Bridget Quigg there. If you want to follow me on Facebook, I'm Bridget Quigg there. My website is bridgetquigg.com. So I'd love to connect with any of you. You can email me. I have more games and ideas if you need any more input, and I'm happy to connect with you. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being at Microsoft Build. Do reach out on LinkedIn if you feel inspired. And if you have any last questions, just email me on my website. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We so appreciate your time spent with us, learning more about creative thinking and applying it to your work and your personal life. This session is over, but there's a lot more build left. So go on back to mybuild.microsoft.com, and we'll see you around. Thanks, everyone.